Let's take you now to issues of identity and the Home Affairs. Well, that department has been dragged to court for failing to provide citizens with identity documents. Hundreds of people have had their IDs blocked, and the department says this is due to some of them being duplicated. It has had a very devastating impact, however, on the lives of those who are affected by this decision. Carlos Mesquita is from the Homeless Action Committee and joins us now to explain just how difficult it is to live without an ID. Carlos, thank you so much for your time this morning. I mean, you are talking from first-hand experience because you yourself at one point in your life were actually homeless and without an ID. Tell us about how that impacted your life, what you could not do, and the restrictions that being identityless had on you.
I mean, it's terrible because, I mean, it impacts on everything. You can't go to a library, you can't go, you can't even go to some of the shelters. You can't go to a clinic, you can't access a bank account or open a bank account. You can't even join one of the programs that are put in place for the homeless. If you get an item from somebody that you want to make some money out of for that day, you can't go and sell it at Cash Crusaders or wherever you want to go sell it. You can't buy a phone, you can't vote, you can't, I mean, there's so many things you can't do. Things that people just take as normal day-to-day things that don't really give a second thought to. I had 3 opportunities where I could have actually come all out of homelessness, and I wasn't able to do that based on the fact that I didn't have an ID. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that, although illegal to do it, we have a rogue unit of law enforcement that tends to find it extremely entertaining to take people's IDs. When people were taken to Strandfontein, for example, en masse about 3.5 years ago, none of us were allowed to take our IDs with us, and that's why a lot of the people on the streets do not have IDs.
I mean, you've mentioned as well, Carlos, instances where you wanted to go back, you were being evicted and you wanted to go back to actually get your personal belongings, but were prohibited from doing so. Talk to us about those quote-unquote rogue units who actually intentionally, according to your experience, actually prevent you from taking your belongings with you.
You know, there was a morning on the, I used to have a second-hand store on the parade, and must have been about 5 o'clock that morning. I'd already packed up and I was ready to go to my store. And I had just bought a new tent like a week before the time, and inside the tent was still my bag with my cell phone and my ID document, etc. And they came and they put with a truck and they threw everything onto the truck. And I was protesting. I was saying to them, please, I've got my ID, I've got everything in my tent. Can I please just get my tent, get to my tent to get those items out? And they just laughed. They were ignoring me. So the tent was hanging like halfway off the truck still. So I took a chance and I grabbed for the tent. The minute I grabbed for the tent, they threw me to the floor, put their knees on my chest, and then sprayed 2 canisters of pepper spray out in each of my eyes, one each of my eyes. And it blinded me for about a week and a half. So that's the type of thing that happens.
And now you've roped in Home Affairs here, and what are your allegations against Home Affairs? What happens when you go and try and apply for another ID after your previous one has been lost?
We've actually been trying now this is the 3rd year that we've been trying this, that we've asked the Department of Home Affairs. Actually, the whole campaign is about waiving the cost of the ID for homeless people, as they do with the elderly and with the youth. But this year, we are so desperate to get people to not only get their IDs, but also we've got a voting year coming up, and it's only fair that people that are affected by laws of the country and the city are, and very much impacted by them, have a right to vote as well. And so this year we've approached the department and asked them to please subsidize us with 50% of the cost of the ID. And we are then asking the public to assist us with the rest of the funds to actually get IDs. We're busy with a county at the moment in Cape Town, a homeless count and assessment. And of those that we've counted in the CBD alone, we have a number of just over 7,000 that are living in the CBD. Of those 7,000, we've assessed about 4,500. And of those, 2,100 and I don't remember the units, but just under 2,200 are people that should legitimately have an ID that do not possess an ID.
So literally, Carlos, is your request and your quest to South Africa at large to come and support your campaign for the Home Affairs to subsidize or completely eliminate cost for those who are unemployed or maybe those who are homeless? Is that your request?
Very much so. We've actually asked them to provide us with one of their mobile units. The mobile units are currently out there registering people to vote for the elections. And so during World Homeless Action Week, which is from the 1st to the 10th of October, and it culminates then on the 1st of December, on the 10th of October, on World Homeless Day. But that whole entire week, we've asked for a mobile unit to be made available to us at the service dining room, which is another NGO that feeds the homeless, to actually provide the service to the homeless community, that their IDs are then, they're able to get their IDs as well as to register to vote at the same time. The other issue that we have is that, of course, that a lot of the IDs go missing on the street. And so the other service that we'll be providing is that we will be offering them the safety of keeping their IDs for them, and they will then, within a 24-hour notice, be able to get their IDs at any time from our offices.
And before I let you go, Carlos, what has been Home Affairs' reaction to your requests?
It's been negative the past 2 years. I must be honest with you, at the moment it's not negative this year, but we haven't gotten an okay for it as yet. Although we are going to continue with the campaign, even if it means that we have to ask the public to assist us in funding the IDs that we need to do during the Homeless Action Week. But we are hoping and praying that the Home Affairs does actually come to the party. If you look at the Article 6 of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, it clearly states that everybody has a right to an ID. And so this is a human right. This is not something that people can withhold from people.
Are there other humanitarian organizations, perhaps, Carlos, that you are working in conjunction with who can give you the legal support in order to be able to tackle an institution like Home Affairs, for example?
Well, I know that, there are court cases at the moment, as you said earlier on, with regards to the IDs that were stopped. I'm hoping and praying that we don't need to go that route, and that, the sensibility will actually reign. But, there are a lot of organizations that already get funded for IDs by the Department of Social Development, etc. But these only has impact on those that are involved in their program. So there's a huge amount of people that are living on the streets that are not associated to shelters, that are not associated to programs, and these are the people that we are trying to assist. I know that the Woodstock CCID, for example, also has made arrangements to provide IDs, and they're obviously utilizing their funds for that as well. And I just feel that that is totally unfair because, at this point in time, everybody knows, this has been a well-documented fact that most of the IDs are missing because of law enforcement interventions in Cape Town.
Carlos Mesquita, thank you so much for your time today. Carlos is from the Homeless Action Committee, talking about the perils and just the mere inconvenience of not having an ID. And there are other organizations, as Carlos has confirmed, that actually are taking the Department of Home Affairs to court for failing to provide them with identity documents. And we know that next year is a voting year. And it is the right of every single citizen to be able to exercise their vote. And how do you do that without an identity document? So certainly an organization worth looking into and seeing how that transpires as they continue to fight for their rights.